Hello, welcome to today's somatic pelvic embodiment practice. Today we're focusing on aligning the pelvic bowl optimally for nervous system regulation, for pelvic floor health, menstrual health. There's actually research that shows that aligning the pelvic bowl optimally actually regulates the nervous system. It helps with vagal tone, and as we know, the vagus nerve, which runs all the way down to the cervix from the brain, is the epicenter of nervous system regulation. So first, let's talk about the two extremes that we tend to fall into, taking us out of optimal pelvic alignment. There's the posterior tilt, where we slouch, tuck our tailbone under, and what this does is it actually sends messages to the baroreceptors in our brain to go into a freeze response or hypoarousal, perhaps shutdown. And it works both ways. So sometimes we already are in a freeze response and often will chronically sit with the pelvis tucked under. On the other end of the spectrum, we have the anterior tilt, where there's a major curve in the low back. You may get low back tension. And what this does is it also sends signals to the baroreceptors to turn on more of a hyperarousal state in the nervous system, perhaps fight or flight. And again, sometimes we're already in that state. It goes both ways, and this causes us to align into this anterior tilt. Now, ideally, we want balance, which means that there is a small curve in the low back. We feel that our weight is distributed evenly through the sort of diamond of the bottom of the pelvic bowl. So our weight is distributed evenly between the two sit bones. And we feel the bottom portion of our vulva, our perineum, making contact with what we're sitting on. We don't want to be tucked with the vulva and perineum kind of pointing up. We also don't want to be tilting too far forward where our entire vulva is making contact with what we're sitting on. So let's explore how we can find this alignment in the pelvic bowl. Start by propping your hips up on something. I recommend, I'm using a rolled up yoga mat. You can use a blanket or a block, anything that helps you to get your knees lower than your hips. You can sit cross-legged. You could also sit with soles of the feet together, knees open, especially if you're pregnant, that might feel better. And take a moment to feel your sit bones by rotating the pelvic bowl, the spine in circles in one direction. And what this is doing is it's allowing all of the layers of pelvic fascia. There's 5 layers of pelvic fascia in the pelvic bowl. We're inviting them to express themselves here. We're rehydrating the layers of fascia in the pelvic bowl. Every time we move, this moves water molecules in and flushes them out of those layers of fascia. And when our pelvic fascia is hydrated, we're able to thrive. We have more nerve flow, more circulation into those spaces, and therefore more of a felt sense connection, which is very grounding for the nervous system. Go ahead and change directions, feeling your weight shift around now the 4 kind of corners of the pelvic bowl, moving towards the pubic bone, to the left sit bone, back towards the tailbone and sacrum, over to the right sit bone, until eventually you slow the movement down and are able to feel that your weight is distributed evenly into both sit bones. And then we'll rock the pelvis back and forth into those two extremes we talked about, tilting the pelvis forward towards the pubic bone and then back towards the tailbone. Continue tilting like this, kind of throwing yourself off balance on purpose. Notice which one of these positions feels more familiar, perhaps more comfortable for you. Just observing. Until eventually, again, you feel your weight connected to the central channel of the body. So you feel the perineum and the bottom part of your vulva resting on whatever you're sitting on. To balance that, lean your shoulders back above the hips. Align your ears back above your shoulders. So you feel a sense of the entire body, the torso, the chest, the head, fully supported by the throne of your pelvis. And breathe. You can stay here as long as you'd like. Thank you so much.